Very good morning, dear students. Today I am here for grade 12th, and we have already started chapter Enemy, and the fourth part was so small, so I am continuing that part only. Recapitulating the characters, that is Dr. Sadao, his wife Hana. They met in America. Actually, they were Japanese. After marriage, they had two children, and they were having servant at their home, that is Gardner and Yumi, and afterwards they met an American and whom they treated. So earlier, after when the treatment started of the American man, and what was the circumstances in between, Sada was very quick. He made a few surgical cuts on the body and removed the bullet. The man was trembled in pain but remained unconscious. He spoke a few words in English which were an expression of the pain that he was experiencing. The injured man choked and said, "Guts. They got my guts." He meant that he was brave and courageous, and the Japanese army would have a tough time while punishing him. Upon hearing him, Hana cried out to Sadao. Sadao urged her to keep quiet. And the man became so quiet that Sadao held his wrist to check his heartbeat. He was checking if the man was still alive. His pulse was there, although it was very weak. Sadao thought that it was enough for a person who had a desire to live. There was still a hope that the man would survive. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines, he chose a small vial and filled it with a hypodermic acid. Sada was sure that he did not want the man to live, but still he was in need to give so that he will be unconscious. He filled the syringe with the medicine and pushed the vaccine into the man's left arm. Sadao placed the needle down and held the man's wrist. The pulse shivered once or twice and then it was improved. Sadao took a deep breath as he told Hana that the injured man would live now. He woke up and his blue-colored eyes were full of fright as he realized where he was. Hana felt sorry for him. She served him food as the servants refused to enter the room where he was kept. When Hana met the injured man for the first time, she saw that the man was gathering strength and he was full of fear. She saw that he wanted to reply, means he said softly, means to the injured man that he should not be afraid, not to be afraid of anything. He was astonished that she could speak English. Hana can speak. Hana replied that she had lived in America for a long time. The man wanted to speak further but was not able to speak. Hana fed him gently with a spoon made of porcelain. Porcelain means a white, vertified, translucent ceramic. The man did not want to eat, but still he ate. When Sadao came in the third day after the operation, he found the young man sitting up, his face bloodless with the effort. Sadao means after looking the young boy, and he was shocked somehow. How he started sitting by early means he was getting up. But he was pale, he was weak. Sadao screamed at him and ordered him to lie down. He said the man would die if he stressed himself. Sadao forced him down and inspected the wound that he had operated upon, and he scolded the man that he could die if he tried to exert himself. It seemed that the boy was hardly 17 years. He asked Sadao that he hand him over to the Japanese army. Sadao did not reply instantly. He completed examining the boy and then he put the silk quilt on him. Sadao said that he himself did not know what he should do with that boy. He added that also that was supposed to hand him over to the police. He also disclosed that he knew that the boy was a prisoner of war. As Sadao said that the boy was, you can say, about to speak something, he raised his hand, he stopped him to indicate him not to do so. Sadao asked him not to speak and not to tell his name, also unless he asked him to do so. Sadao and the boy exchanged glances. Then the boy closed his eyes and turned his face towards the wall. He said okay in a low voice as he felt bitter by Sadao's words. And outside the door, Hana was waiting for Sadao. He saw that she was in some sort of trouble. Hana said to Sadao that Yumi told her that the servants would not stay with them if the American man lived there any longer. She also said that the Sadao and Hana had been in America for such a long time that they have forgotten their country's priority. Yumi and the servants thought that the Hana and Sadao liked Americans. That's what they are treating them. Sadao reacted harshly and said that this was not true. He said that the Americans were their enemies. He had been trained in such a way that he could not let a man die and would help to save him in whichever way he could. That was what Sadao had done. Neither seemed means he said that at that Hana said that the servants could not understand Sadao's predicament, means the way he wants, as it was only he is fulfilling his duty. One morning, the old gardener said that it was obvious what their master should have done. The old gardener had worked him with flowers all his life and specialized in moss. He had been employed by Sadao's father. The gardener had made one of the best moss gardens in Japan for Sadao's father. He would sweep the bright green colored carpet of the moss clean so that the sharp leaves of pine tree could not spoil the soft, velvety surface. He plucked the flower bud from the bush and he said that his master's son, that is, Sadao, knew very well that he was supposed to do. He added that when the man was almost dead, he should have left him bleed to death. The cook said disrespectfully that their master was so proud of his skill at saving lives that he did not bother whose life he was saving. She cut the neck of a hen skillfully and held the bird as it shivered. She let the blood of the hen flow into the wisteria plant. The old gardener had instructed her that the blood was the best fertilizer for the plants and he did not allow her to waste a single drop of it. It means he can let the white man die instead of saving his blood. Yumi was worried about the fate of Sadao and Hana's children. She wondered that when they grew up, they would be labeled as the children of a traitor. As Sadao was helping an American, and all the people of Japan would consider him to be the enemy of Japan, a traitor of his country. As Hana stood in the veranda, arranging the flowers, the servants discussed the matter in his presence as they wanted her to know their views about the matter. Hana also felt that the servants were right, but she had some feelings for the injured man, which she could also not analyze. She did not like the prisoner, neither was she attached towards him. The day before, the injured man told her that his name was Tom. Hana did not like him at that moment also. She had reacted by bowing her head mildly. She saw that her reaction hurt the injured man, but she did not want to reduce his hurt that she had caused to him because the injured man was a great trouble to her. His presence was a threat to Hana and Sadao. Sadao was performing his role perfectly. He would examine the wound every day. One morning, the last stitches were removed from the injured man's body, and he would be as well as ever in the next 15 days. In the meantime, Sadao went to the office and wrote a letter to the chief of the police to report the entire matter to him. Sadao started his report and he wrote that on the 21st of February, an escaped prisoner was washed up on the shore in front of his house. Sadao had just typed this much of the report. He opened the drawer of his desk and kept the unfinished report in it. On the 7th day, after that two things happened, the servants of the house left in the morning. They had tied their belongings in the huge pieces of cloth. When Hannah got up in the morning, she saw that the work had not been done. House was dirty. Food had not been cooked. She realized that the servants were up to something. Something happened. She was shocked and horrified when she came to know when the servants were leaving. Hannah did not know that the servants means he did not show her feelings to the servants. Instead, she remained calm and maintained her grace as she was the lady of the house. She bathed the servants and thanked them for their services. As the servants had been working there for many years, they were crying, but Hannah did not cry. The cook and the gardener were very old employees. They had been employed by Sadao's father and had served Sadao since his childhood. Yumi was crying because she would miss the children. She was so sad that she ran up to Hannah after she had left. Yumi said to Hannah that if the baby missed her at night, she could call her. She further added that also that she was going to her own house and Hannah knew very well where the house was. Hannah smiled and thanked her for the offer, but to herself she said that in case the baby cried, she would not call for Yumi. The next morning, Hannah prepared the breakfast and Sadao helped her by looking after the children. Neither of them talked regarding the servants, but after Hannah served the morning food of the prisoner of war, she came back to Sadao probably to talk something. Hannah was very worried and she questioned that why they were not clear about what they ought to do. She added that even their servants were very clear as compared to them. She said that why they were behaving differently from other Japanese people. Hannah wanted to say that as Americans were their enemies, they should not have treated that prisoner of war and they should have let him die just like any other Japanese would have done. Sadao did not reply to Hannah. But after some time, he went into the room where the prisoner of war was resting and spoke very fast. He said that day the man could get up and stand on his feet. So thou wanted him to stand only for 5 minutes at a time. Further, he added that the next day he could try to stand for double the time, that is 10 minutes. Sadao also said that it would be good for everyone that the man regains strength as soon as possible. Sadao hinted that they wanted to get rid of the American man as early because he had become a cause for trouble for them. Here I am ending up my video. We'll meet you in the next part and the last part of this chapter. Thank you. Have a nice day, you all.